"Get out of my lobby, this place isn't for people like you." Those words weren't a slip of the tongue. They were policy blunt cold and clearly memorized long ago. David Thompson, the manager of the Lux Horizon Hotel in downtown Chicago, stood behind the front desk with his arms folded, judgmental eyes fixed on her. He didn't whisper. He didn't hide. He spoke loud enough for everyone in the lobby to hear. He looked her up and down, the black woman in simple attire, and immediately decided she didn't belong in this luxury establishment. What he didn't know was that in exactly 5 minutes, the woman standing before him would be firing him and his entire staff right here in the lobby, where he had intentionally humiliated her in front of everyone. The main doors swung open. A young woman entered, dressed extremely plainly. She wore a plain white blouse and unremarkable shoes, no designer bag, no flashy jewelry. Yet each step she took radiated absolute confidence, a powerful aura that made the heads turn. Twice this was Sophia Carter, the formidable CEO behind the prestigious Horizon hospitality chain. But today she'd left her title at home. She approached the desk slowly and politely as she neared the skeptical gazes of the receptionists snapped to her. At the center stood David Thompson, handsome but icy and proud beside him, Lauren Hayes and Kyle Patterson. 2 young front desk clerks watched wearily when Sophia stopped at the desk. An oppressive silence fell over the space. She spoke. Her voice calm, polite, yet crystal clear. "I have a reservation for the penthouse suite. The name is Sophia Carter." David didn't answer immediately. His eyes swept her body with blatant contempt. Other guests began to notice conversations hushing as curious glances settled on her and the receptionists. He leaned forward, his tone dismissive yet audible to the entire lobby. "Are you sure you're in the right place? The penthouse suite isn't for people like you." Those cutting words sparked a murmur of gossip across the lobby. Lauren smirked with derision while Kyle feigned interest in his computer screen, though the silence lasted mere seconds to Sophia. It felt like an eternity. She tilted her head, meeting David's gaze without flinching, only calm resolve and confident defiance in her eyes. "Maybe you ought to check your system before you say something like that," she replied, her tone gentle but firmer. David let out a mocking chuckle. "No need to check, I know my clientele, clearly you are not one of them." His declaration hushed the lobby. Sophia remained silent, noting Lauren's contemptuous curl of the lip, and Kyle's deferential glance toward David. A few guests grew uncomfortable. Some pulled out their phones to record. Sophia sensed the tension rising, but did not waver after a waited moment. She spoke again, this time with icy precision. "I suggest you pull up my reservation one last time or you'll regret those words." David stood unmoved, arms still crossed, eyes challenging. "I have no reason to. You should leave before we call security." Sophia did not raise her voice or hurriedly defend herself. Instead, she slowly retrieved her phone, never averting her gaze from David. "Mr. Thompson," she said clearly, "you just made the biggest mistake of your career." Her measured words seemed to freeze the lobby. Other guests watched in silence, uncertain what would happen next, but all understood this. The unassuming woman before them was not to be underestimated. At the far corner of the lobby, Isabella Reed, a well-known travel blogger, began capturing the scene on her camera, whispering to her friend Noah Clark. She said, "It looks like we're witnessing something far bigger than a simple misunderstanding." Little did she know those whispers would soon prove prophetic. The woman standing at the desk owned the entire Lux Horizon chain, and in just a few minutes, those who had dared to demean her would pay the price with their careers. Sophia remained standing, her cold gaze locked on David, the air between them growing denser and more suffocating than ever. The light from the crystal chandelier above washed faintly across David's face, accentuating the smug irritation etched in his features. Sophia didn't need to raise her voice or make a scene. Her powerful silence was enough to unnerve him, finally to shatter the oppressive quiet. Sophia slowly set her phone down and reached into her pocket for a compact leather wallet. She gently withdrew a sleek black credit card, her name embossed in gleaming silver letters along with a simple but elegantly designed ID. David looked at the two items, as if they'd arrived from another planet. Reluctantly, he took them suspicion and malicious doubt, written all over his face as he scrutinized every letter on the card and ID far more closely than necessary. "Miss Carter, right?" David drawled deliberately, stretching out her last name as though it were a joke. "I'm sorry, but I don't recall seeing this name on our VIP list." Another wave of murmurs swept through the lobby, louder and more pointed this time, as curious guests watched the scene unfold. Seizing the moment, Kyle Patterson, still hovering just behind David, spoke up, eager to show blind loyalty to his boss. "Mr. Thompson, we should double-check our records," he said. His tone dramatic rather than sincere, Kyle snatched the card from David's hand with a brisk flourish. "This card looks suspicious." David gave a cold, triumphant smile and turned back to Sophia. "You understand this is just standard procedure. Guest security is our highest priority." Before he could finish the sentence, Lauren Hayes lifted her phone to the walkie-talkie at her belt and called out loud enough for all to hear, "Security to the front desk. Immediately, we have a guest requiring urgent ID verification." All eyes snapped back to Sophia. Some guests shook their heads in silent disapproval, but dared not intervene. Isabella Reed continued filming her face, a mask of outraged disbelief at the blatant injustice. Meanwhile, Kyle carried Sophia's precious black credit card over to the small safe built into the reception desk with a crisp click. He opened it, placed the card inside, and locked it again. Each gesture staged for maximum humiliation. "We must retain this card for verification," announced. "It's our anti-fraud policy here at the Lux Horizon." Sophia fixed Kyle with a steely stare, her anger perfectly controlled beneath her calm exterior. She stepped closer and spoke, her voice low, but every word audible. "Consider this your final warning. Kyle, you will pay dearly for this decision." Kyle blinked at her intensity, but quickly recovered his arrogant posture, chin raised. "I'll remember your warning, Miss Carter. But right now you have no authority to threaten me." At that moment, a team of security officers entered the lobby and formed a line behind Sophia, awaiting David's orders. The tension peaked as David raised his hand to signal them forward. "Miss Carter, you may step outside now, or we will be forced to take more drastic measures. This is your final warning." But instead of backing down, Sophia offered a faint, icy smile. Sharp as a blade, her gaze swept over Lauren and Kyle before settling on David's smug face. "You will regret this. Don't say I didn't warn you." Each word landed like a prophecy of the storm about to break over them. Yet David, Lauren, and Kyle didn't realize they had just unlocked the door to their own downfall. Sophia was no ordinary guest. She was the true power behind the Lux Horizon chain. They served as Sophia stood in silent command. Isabella and her friend Noah continued their live stream, Isabella's voice trembling with righteous anger. Everyone were witnessing a shockingly humiliating scene at Chicago's Lux Horizon Hotel. "Share this. Now no one can let this slide." And so the seeds of public outrage were sown, ready to erupt and sweep away the arrogant, prejudiced few daring to stand in Sophia Carter's way. The moment Sophia's chilling warning rang out, Isabella Reed glanced at her companion and assistant Noah. Clark neither could believe what they were witnessing. Isabella gave Noah a subtle signal to keep recording. He understood immediately, raising his phone and adjusting the frame to capture the entire Lux Horizon hotel lobby, now the stage for a truly shocking event. Isabella quickly tapped, "Go live," inhaled deeply, and began speaking with just enough emotion to convey the tension and injustice unfolding. "Everyone, Noah and I are here at the Lux Horizon Hotel in downtown Chicago. We're witnessing a serious incident of prejudice and discrimination live on camera. The woman you see standing there calmly but with undeniable presence has been treated in the most insulting way by this hotel's management." In an instant, the live stream's view count exploded. comments flooded in angry emojis popping up one after another. Isabella swung the camera to David Thompson, Lauren Hayes, and Kyle Patterson, who stood behind the desk with smug, contemptuous expressions. Kyle, realizing he was on camera, didn't back down. He smirked, leaning forward and shouting into the lens, "Go ahead and film all you want. We're just following protocol to protect our genuine guests." David crossed his arms, clearly proud of Kyle's boldness, then turned back to Sophia and amplified the insult. "You need to face reality, Miss Carter. This hotel is for the right class of people, and unfortunately you're not one of them." Guests around the lobby froze, watching in stunned silence. Some whispered their disapproval. Others looked bewildered. This was not what they expected at a luxury hotel like the Lux Horizon. Meanwhile, Isabella and Noah's viewer count had surged into the thousands. Comments poured in. "Unbelievable! A famous hotel acting like this. She's so composed, I couldn't stay that calm. Share this everywhere." Isabella quickly scanned a few comments, then whispered to Noah. Noah panned to the safe. "They've locked her credit card inside." Noah complied, framing the cold steel safe beneath the desk, a stark symbol of injustice. He narrated clearly into the live stream. "Look at this. They've confiscated this guest's credit card with no valid reason, and she's standing there facing it all with incredible poise. We can't believe what's happening." The tension in the lobby ratcheted up another notch. A middle-aged man nearby stepped forward and spoke quietly, but still within Noah's shot. "Mr. Thompson, maybe you should stop. This could seriously damage the hotel's reputation." David waved him off, dismissively, arrogance in his eyes. "I know what I'm doing. If she were innocent, she wouldn't be arguing here." Sophia heard every cutting remark, but remained ice-cold and composed, letting their own actions indict them inside, though she was already plotting her next move. Isabella refocused the camera on Sophia, her voice trembling with both anger and admiration. "Everyone look at this woman. Despite being publicly humiliated, she hasn't lost her composure. I don't know who she is, but I'm certain we're witnessing someone extraordinary with unmatched inner strength." Suddenly a highlighted comment flashed by, which Noah read aloud. "I recognize her. That's Sophia Carter, the CEO of Horizon Hospitality, owner of this entire hotel chain." Isabella and Noah stared at each other in astonishment. The revelation ignited. The live stream shares soared, and thousands of new comments poured in. "Oh my God, they just humiliated their own CEO. Those employees' careers are toast. We're watching history. In real time." Regaining her composure, Isabella addressed the feed with newfound authority. "Breaking news, the woman you're seeing is Sophia Carter, the owner of the Lux Horizon Hotel chain. Share this live stream." Now this truth needs to be exposed in the lobby. Expressions shifted from skepticism to horror, as David, Lauren, and Kyle realized the magnitude of their mistake. They hadn't made a small error. They'd ignited a storm that would sweep away everything they'd built, while the murmurs and shocked glances still swirled around her. Sophia Carter stood perfectly still for a brief moment. Her eyes flickered with something unspoken. Isabella Reed's words, "That woman is Sophia Carter, the owner of the Horizon Hotel chain," echoed in her mind. But Sophia was pulled back into a memory she thought she'd buried deep in that instant. Time rewound more than 15 years to a small suburb outside Dallas on a scorching summer's night. Heavy heat blanketed the dusty street. Sophia, barely in her 20s and fresh out of college, carried a burning dream of building her own business. Yet at that moment, her dream felt impossibly distant. She was just an unknown young woman, no fame, no influence, and painfully not worthy of staying in any upscale hotel. She remembered that night vividly. Her old car had stalled in the blazing heat, and Sophia had trudged through the swelter to a tiny roadside inn, begging for a room. The receptionist's cold contempt cut deep into her soul. "Ma! I'm sorry, but we don't accept guests like you," he sneered, eyeing her from head to toe with blatant disdain. "Guests like me? Sophia had asked, her voice trembling with heat and outrage. "You know exactly what I mean," he replied, turning away and leaving her sweating in shame. That night, Sophia spent huddled in her car, tears silently streaming down her cheeks. The isolation, the abandonment, the humiliation, they left a scar she would never forget, but also ignited a fierce determination in her heart. On that scorching, lonely night, she vowed never to allow anyone else to endure such pain. She promised herself that if she ever had the power to change things, she would create a place where every person, rich or poor, regardless of appearance, would be treated with absolute respect. And now, standing in the luxurious lobby of the Lux Horizon Hotel, the empire she'd built, the bitter memory surged back with full force. But this time she was no longer helpless. She was Sophia Carter, the powerful CEO of one of America's most prestigious hotel chains, with the strength to redefine the present. Yet before her, David Thompson, Lauren Hayes, and Kyle Patterson were reenacting her worst nightmare. Their words and contemptuous stares cut into her old wound as sharply as any knife. Kyle, with a smirk, deliberately raised his voice for all to hear. "Stop the theatrics. This isn't for people pretending to be wealthy." Lauren stood nearby, arms crossed, her cold, satisfied smile more chilling than any insult. Meanwhile, David Thompson reveled in his perverse display of power, standing tall and proud, as if to announce, "I am in control here." Torsabon. But Sophia knew true power doesn't lie in cruel words or arrogance. True power is the ability to face injustice and refuse to bow. She'd learned that power through tears and sweltering nights in a broken-down car, and today she would use it to end a legacy of prejudice and unfairness. Sophia's gaze sharpened with resolve. She lifted her chin, letting the chandelier's light illuminate her determined face. In a voice as calm as it was unyielding, she declared, "David, Kyle, Lauren, you picked the wrong person to insult today. What's happening here will be the start of something monumental, I promise you that." Isabella continued filming, her camera locked on Sophia as thousands watched the live stream. They all felt it. Sophia Carter wasn't just standing up for herself. She was standing up for everyone who had ever faced injustice in that moment. Sophia became more than a woman. She became a symbol of resistance against discrimination and unfairness, and the thousands watching her on tiny screens placed their hope and trust in her. Sophia knew this was just the beginning. A great battle lay ahead against the people before her and the flawed system they upheld. But she was ready, because this time she was no longer alone. As Sophia Carter's cold yet powerful declaration echoed through the hotel lobby, an unusual hush fell over the normally bustling space. Guests fell silent, their eyes fixed on her with a mix of anticipation and curiosity. In that brief moment, Sophia became the center of attention, not because of her wealth or status, but because of the sheer strength of spirit she displayed in the face of blatant injustice and prejudice. But that silence shattered almost immediately. Lauren Hayes, who had stood beside David all along with an arrogant, self-satisfied air, could no longer contain her anger and indignation. To her, Sophia's calm resistance was a blatant provocation, striking at the core of her fragile pride without waiting for David or Kyle to intervene. Lauren stormed forward. The sharp click of her high heels on the marble floor sounded like hammer blows. She planted herself inches from Sophia, close enough for Sophia to feel the heat of her fury in that razor-sharp gaze. "Have you said enough?" Lauren spat, each word punctuated like a blow. "We've politely asked you to leave, yet you stubbornly waste everyone's time." Before Sophia could answer, Lauren yanked her arm in a harsh, provocative tug, as if trying to drag her out of the lobby right then and there. The force made Sophia wince, but she refused to budge, her eyes locked onto Lauren's with a glacial calm that silently warned she had crossed a line. Gasps and murmurs of outrage rippled through the lobby. Guests began whispering, voicing their discomfort. Noah Clark and Isabella Reed closed in with their cameras, capturing every moment for their live stream. Noah's voice trembled with anger as he narrated, "Do you see this? This is how Lux Horizon hotel staff treat their guests, using force to drive them out." Viewers at home exploded in fury, shares of the stream surged like a tidal wave, and thousands of critical comments flooded social media. "Unbelievable, this is beyond acceptable. A luxury hotel acting like this. I will never stay here." Amid the chaos, young receptionist Chloe Bennett stood frozen behind the desk, eyes wide with shock and dismay. She had only been at Lux Horizon for a few months and had believed this place embodied courtesy and respect. Now she saw Lauren's arrogance, David's cruelty, and Kyle's complicity, and her faith in the hotel's values, crumbling shame and doubt, swirled in her mind. Is this really the workplace I believed in? Is this what Lux Horizon stands for? Lauren still gripped Sophia's arm, trying to force her forward. Yet Sophia did not flinch. She met Lauren's gaze and spoke softly, but her words carried clear conviction. "Lauren, I suggest you release me immediately. This will be the biggest mistake of your life. Blinded by rage." Lauren sneered back, each syllable dripping contempt. "My biggest mistake would have been letting scum like you into this hotel in the first place." Isabella's livestream captured every word, fueling an even more furious backlash. Outrageous, how dare they humiliate her like that? Lauren Hayes, you'll pay dearly for this through it all. Sophia remained composed, refusing to let Lauren's abuse shake her. But inside she knew Lauren had crossed the final line, slipping from arrogance into outright aggression, from a petty mistake into career-ending disaster. Chloe's heart pounded. She realized Lauren's actions weren't just unprofessional, they were a gross violation of the hotel's ethics and core values. It was time to choose: remain silent or stand up against this injustice. Chloe understood that her decision could change not only her own fate, but the course of everything unfolding before her. The lobby had become more than a standoff between Sophia and Lauren. It was now the battleground for a larger fight between truth and prejudice, courage and cowardice, genuine values and false assumptions. That fragile line awaited someone brave enough to cross it, and Sophia Carter knew she was no longer alone in the tense moment that gripped the hotel lobby. Chloe Bennett felt her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst. She watched Lauren's hands clench Sophia's arm. Roughly, Lauren's cruel words still echoing like a warning bell, and in that instant Chloe realized something crystal clear. She could no longer stand by and watch this injustice unfold without doing anything, without another hesitation. Chloe drew a deep breath, stepped out from behind the front desk, and strode between Sophia and Lauren. Her voice trembled, but rang with determination as she spoke, startling everyone around them. "Lauren, please stop this at once. Miss Carter did indeed reserve the penthouse suite. I personally verified her booking this morning. We are making a grave mistake." All eyes turned to Chloe in astonishment. Lauren froze, eyes widening with fury at this unexpected challenge from a subordinate. David Thompson's face went from smug to furious. In an instant, he stepped forward, his gaze like a dagger aimed at Chloe. "Chloe, do you know what you're saying? Are you trying to ruin this hotel's reputation? If you dare interfere again, I will fire you right here." David's words were ice cold, but Chloe stood her ground. She lifted her chin, her eyes burning with a newfound confidence she'd barely known she possessed. "I'm prepared to face whatever consequences, Mr. Thompson, but I cannot let the truth be buried. What's happening here is wrong. We cannot treat a guest this way." Isabella and Noah, still live streaming, moved closer to capture every detail. Noah's voice, brimming with excitement and support, spoke into the camera. "You're witnessing real courage from a hotel employee. Chloe Bennett is defending a guest even as she's threatened with dismissal. This is true. Service spirit shaken by Chloe's defiance." Lauren spun on her heel and snapped at Chloe with venom. "Chloe, how long have you worked here, daring to lecture us? Step aside now, or you'll pay the same price." "She will." But Chloe did not back down. She stood firm, locking eyes with both Lauren and David. If losing my job is the cost of standing up for what's right, so be it, but I will never be complicit in discrimination." Meanwhile, Sophia remained utterly composed. Calmly, she retrieved her phone from her jacket pocket and made a call with deliberate slowness, every action measured as if following a predetermined plan. Seconds later, a familiar voice answered her personal assistant, Rachel Evans. "Miss Carter, this is..." "Rachel, how can I help?" Sophia spoke clearly and firmly, loud enough for David, Lauren, and Kyle to hear every word Rachel initiate. The company's special protocol: immediately gather all security camera footage from this hotel and upload it to our internal system, then notify legal so they can prepare the full case. We'll need it today. Rachel's reply was concise and decisive. "Understood, ma'am. I'm on it right away at Sophia's." Words David's expression flickered with concern before he forced back his arrogance. "You think a phone call will scare us? Don't be so deluded." But Lauren couldn't hide her unease. She released Sophia's arm and instinctively took a step back. Her confidence-shaken Kyle, too, recognized the gravity of the situation. He fell silent, anxiety creeping into his posture. Isabella moved her camera in close to Sophia, capturing this critical moment. Her voice quivered with excitement. "Folks, CEO Sophia Carter has activated Horizon's special protocol that means every ounce of evidence of misconduct by this hotel's management and staff is being preserved. We're witnessing a major turning point." The lobby's atmosphere grew even more charged as nearby guests visibly sided with Sophia and Chloe. Some stepped forward to show their support and protect the two women standing up for justice. In that instant, Chloe felt the warmth of courage and the power of solidarity. Like never before, she turned to Sophia, her eyes shining with gratitude and awe. "Thank you, Miss Carter. I don't know if I would have had the courage to speak up without seeing your strength." Sophia offered a gentle smile and placed a reassuring hand on Chloe's shoulder. Her voice was sincere and uplifting. "Chloe, you are the bravest person here today. You've just proven that courage always triumphs over injustice." Now David, Lauren, and Kyle truly grasped the enormity of their mistake. The line they once thought thin had become an abyss, and with one more misstep, everything they'd built could vanish in an instant, but there was no turning back. Sophia's decision had unleashed a wave of resistance, and the real battle for justice was only just beginning. The air in the hotel lobby grew heavier and more tense than ever. After Sophia's decisive declaration, David Thompson stood frozen, a flicker of confusion crossing his face, something no one had ever seen before. His initial confidence was starting to crack as Sophia's words were proven true. Every one of his actions was being carefully and clearly recorded across from him. Noah Clark never took his eyes off his phone, live streaming every detail. His gaze drifted to the cold steel safe behind the front desk, where Kyle Patterson had brazenly stashed Sophia's credit card, and suddenly he realized something important. He swung the camera closer to the safe, adjusting the angle so viewers could clearly see the card inside. His voice broke the silence with excitement, broadcast live for everyone to hear. Everyone. "I just discovered something huge. The credit card, the hotel staff. Locked in the safe is a special VIP card labeled Owner. That means the woman standing before us. Sophia Carter is the owner of this Lux Horizon Hotel." Immediately, the lobby erupted in murmurs of shock and outrage. David Thompson, Lauren Hayes, and Kyle Patterson all went pale, their eyes wide with panic as this shocking truth was exposed to both the on-site guests and the online audience. David stammered, trying and failing to regain his composure. "Nah, no way, this must be a mistake." But his words were drowned out by the growing chorus of whispers. Kyle Patterson trembled as he turned to David in alarm. "David, the card really does say Owner. I didn't check properly." Lauren, normally the most arrogant of the three, now looked horrified. She stumbled backward toward the desk, as if searching for something to steady herself. Yet no one dared come to her defense. Isabella Reed stepped closer to Sophia, Her camera focused on the hotel owner with unmistakable respect and admiration in her eyes. She inhaled deeply and proclaimed for all to hear. "Listen up, everyone. The woman you've just watched be insulted and mistreated by this hotel's staff is none other than Sophia Carter, the owner and CEO of Horizon Hospitality, which includes the very luxe Horizon Hotel we're standing in." Each word struck like a bullet to David Lauren, and Kyle's pride. For a brief moment, time seemed to stand still, as every gaze fixed on Sophia, who stood tall at the center of a rapidly intensifying storm of public outrage. Nearby guests began to voice their anger and disbelief. "Unbelievable. How could any staff treat their own CEO like that? I've stayed here countless times, but after this, I'll never come back." Some guests even moved forward to show solidarity with Sophia, and Chloe, Miss Carter were completely on your side. These people must be held accountable. Faced with the crowd's reaction, David was utterly at a loss. He scanned the room for support, but found only accusatory and disappointed looks in a moment of weakness. His voice dropped to a whisper, his arrogance gone. "Miss Carter, I really didn't know who you were. It was just a small misunderstanding." Sophia cut him off calmly but firmly, her words carrying undeniable authority. "A small misunderstanding, David. You call insulting and discriminating against a guest who happens to be your owner, a small misunderstanding. This is exactly why I built this hotel chain, to ensure no one ever endures what you've put me through today." Her gaze swept over the 3 staff members as she continued, voice steady and resolute. "From this moment on, you will face the full consequences of your actions, and I promise that every guest who has ever been treated unfairly here will receive the justice they deserve instantly." Hundreds of messages of support flooded Isabella and Noah's live stream. "This is incredible. Now, that's a true CEO, a symbol of fairness and courage. We stand with you, Sophia Carter. These people must be punished." As David Lauren and Kyle stood paralyzed by shock and fear, Chloe Bennett looked at Sophia with shining admiration. She realized that her decision today, no matter the personal cost, had paved the way for the values Sophia represented in that moment. Sophia knew she hadn't just turned the tide in a small battle. She had ignited a true revolution to overhaul a flawed system, and she was no longer alone. Her cold, powerful declaration sounded like a death knell for David, Lauren, and Kyle in that moment. The busy lobby seemed to freeze. Every eye was fixed on the 3 employees who moments before had brimmed with arrogance, and now wore only confusion and fear, wasting no time. Sophia turned to Chloe and gave her an encouraging nod. Then she lifted her phone again and spoke to her assistant with sharper resolve than ever. "Rachel, I want you to terminate David Thompson, Lauren Hayes, and Kyle Patterson from all our personnel and management systems. Immediately revoke their system access right now and notify legal to prepare their dismissal files." Rachel's clear, decisive reply came through instantly. "Yes, Miss Carter. I'll take care of it right away." At that instant, David's phone buzzed wildly in his pocket. His system access had been officially revoked. Flustered, he pulled out his phone to find a bright red warning on the screen. "Your system access has been disabled." David's face went from ashen to beet red with rage and shock. He looked at Lauren and Kyle, each checking their own phones and realizing the same fate. The power they once wielded had vanished in an instant, leaving only the guests' disapproving stares and simmering anger. Lauren trembled, her eyes wide with fear and indignation. She stumbled toward Sophia, her voice small and desperate. "Miss Carter, I'm so sorry. I didn't know this was all a misunderstanding. We never meant this to happen." Sophia regarded her coldly but clearly. "Lauren, you've had countless chances to treat me and every guest properly, but your arrogance and prejudice blinded you. Now your apologies are far too late." Kyle rushed in, voice quivering, hoping for mercy. "We truly regret it. Please give us a chance to make this right." But Sophia remained unmoved. Her gaze was icy, offering no forgiveness. Addressing everyone watching live, she announced, I cannot tolerate a staff that scorns the fundamental values of hospitality. You are no longer fit to represent Horizon Hospitality." David, completely unmoored, made one last desperate plea. "You can't do this. I've managed here for years. You can't just destroy us over one small incident." Instantly, the guests erupted. "One small incident, you call discrimination and humiliation. Of a guest, small, unbelievable. I'll never return if these people remain employed." Isabella and Noah captured every moment, their live stream flooding with thousands of comments praising Sophia's decisive action. This is a real CEO, always on the side of what's right justice. At last, Sophia Carter is amazing, overwhelmed by the crowd's response. David staggered back. Stunned, Lauren and Kyle hung their heads in utter shame. Nearby guests voiced their support for Chloe Bennet, too. "Chloe, that was brave of you to speak up. We're so proud of you." Chloe smiled softly, warmth flooding her as she realized she had done the right thing, no matter the cost. Sophia stepped forward, her voice ringing with final authority, effective immediately. "You three are no longer part of Lux Horizon Hotel or the Horizon Hospitality family. Remember today the day your arrogance and prejudice cost you everything." A heavy silence fell over the lobby as Sophia finished. Guests stood quietly, admiration and satisfaction in their eyes. Now that justice had been served in that moment, David, Lauren, and Kyle understood they had not only lost their jobs, but also their reputations and dignity. Before everyone present any further excuses or apologies would be meaningless. Their actions had crossed an irredeemable line, and they could only accept the irreversible consequences in the suffocating silence that followed Sophia's firm declaration. Chloe Bennet's quiet but resolute voice suddenly cut through the tension that filled the lobby. Her eyes shone with a mix of determination and long-pent disappointment as she fixed her gaze on David Thompson, now a broken shell of lost authority. "Miss Carter," Chloe began, her voice clear, though tinged with emotion, "I think everyone needs to know what has really been happening here all this time." Every eye snapped to Chloe. Sophia offered her an encouraging nod, silently urging her to reveal the painful truths. Chloe drew a deep breath, summoning her courage to continue. "David Thompson has discriminated against female guests more than once, especially those who dress plainly or are people of color. I speak from first-hand experience. I've seen it happen and I've heard his instructions myself." A ripple of astonished whispers swept the lobby. David's face went pale as he stammered in denial. "What are you saying, Chloe? Don't spread such outrageous lies." Chloe did not flinch. Her eyes remained steady as she replied, "I'm not lying, David. Every time a woman or a guest of color makes a reservation here, you tell us those people don't bring in profit, always find an excuse to turn them away. Lauren and Kyle can confirm this too." Lauren suddenly broke down in tears, her shoulders trembling. The strength and arrogance she'd shown moments ago vanished entirely through her smeared makeup. She choked out, "It's true. I followed David's orders. He told me to judge guests by their appearance, their clothes, and their skin color. At first I refused, but he threatened to fire me if I didn't comply." Lauren's confession hit the lobby like a slow-moving bomb. Noah and Isabella's live stream exploded with furious comments, and their viewer count spiked dramatically. Kyle stood motionless, his eyes cast down in shame. No words needed. The truth was clear from the crowd of guests gathered nearby. A middle-aged woman stepped forward, anger etched across her face. "I was treated the same way here when I came to check in. The desk told me my room had a technical issue, then handed it to a white guest right in front of me." A young man spoke up immediately, his voice equally angry. "I was refused service at the hotel bar even though I was a paying customer. The only explanation I got was, 'Your appearance doesn't meet our standards.'" One by one, guests shared their own painful experiences, years of hidden indignities, now laid bare for everyone to hear. David stood frozen, the weight of their accusations crashing down on him. He attempted a feeble defense voice, stripped of its former confidence. You don't understand, I was just trying to maintain this hotel's upscale image. I never meant to hurt anyone. Sophia cut him off in a cold, unwavering tone. David, no upscale image justifies prejudice and injustice. Your actions violate the core ethics and values of Horizon Hospitality. No excuse is acceptable. Tears streamed down Chloe's cheeks as she added, pained but resolute. I tried to raise these issues with management before, but David silenced and threatened me every time I'm sorry. I stayed quiet too long. Sophia placed a comforting hand on Chloe's shoulder, her voice soft but strong. Chloe, you have no reason to apologize. What matters is that you found the courage to speak up today, and because of you, these wrongs will never happen. Again, Isabella trained the live stream camera on Sophia's face as she addressed thousands of viewers with heartfelt conviction. Friends, this is the painful truth we cannot ignore, thanks to the bravery of Sophia Carter and Chloe Bennet. These terrible secrets are finally revealed. Share this live stream far and wide, so no one ever has to suffer like this again. Surrounded by the outpouring of accusations and outrage, David, Lauren, and Kyle stood utterly defeated. They realized that the injustices they'd hidden had now engulfed them in a pit of public shame. In that moment, Sophia Carter felt more strongly than ever the great mission and responsibility resting on her shoulders. She was no longer merely the owner of a hotel empire. She had become a powerful voice against injustice and discrimination, and she knew that from this point on, everything would change, and that would be her true measure of success. The moment Chloe's and the guests' heart-wrenching testimonies rang out, a powerful wave of emotion swept through the lobby. The thick tension of moments before gave way to palpable unity and outrage. These awful truths could no longer be denied, realizing control had slipped from his grasp. David Thompson took an unsteady step back, voice trembling as he barked at the security officers. Security removed these people from the premises immediately, but before they could move, something unexpected happened. One by one, guests began stepping forward to form a protective barrier around Sophia Carter. First came the middle-aged woman who'd spoken up, then the young man who'd been discriminated against, and then dozens more. Every guest in the lobby surged to Sophia and Chloe's side, their eyes burning with determination and solidarity. Do you honestly think you still have the power to bully people? David, the middle-aged woman demanded, her gaze locked on him. We've seen enough. You will not continue this. An older gentleman approached Sophia calmly but firmly. Miss Carter, my wife and I have stayed here many times, but today we saw the ugly truth behind this hotel's facade. For the first time we stand with you, and I'm certain everyone here does too. Affirmations rose across the lobby, a wave of support, stronger than anything before. Isabella and Noah's live stream flooded with comments. Look at them standing together. That's the real power of unity. Let them know we will never tolerate discrimination faced with that united front. The security team froze, uncertain. Even they looked embarrassed, realizing loyalty now lay with Sophia Carter. Not the former manager David Thompson stood paralyzed under the guests. Furious stares. Minutes ago he'd wielded absolute authority. Now he saw that true power belongs to the trust and support of one's community, something he'd completely lost. Lauren Hayes, utterly broken, sank to the floor. Tears streaming, Kyle Patterson hung his head in hollow resignation, unable to meet anyone's eyes, surrounded by their protectors. Sophia Carter stepped forward and surveyed the crowd with deep gratitude. For the first time, she truly felt the strength of strangers bound by a shared principle. When she spoke, her voice rang out with unwavering conviction. Discrimination will never be allowed under this roof again. Her words echoed through the hotel like an unbreakable vow. Applause thundered, eyes glistened with pride, and social media shares of the live stream spiked. This is the power of solidarity, a historic moment. Sophia Carter stood for us, and we stood for her. Isabella brought her camera close to Sophia's resolute face, Everyone, this is Unity's true strength. We've just witnessed history. Sophia Carter rose for all of us, and we rose with her. David made one last shaky plea. You don't understand. I never meant. But the crowd drowned him out. That's enough. We're done with your excuses. We don't want to hear another word from you. Sophia gently raised her hand, calling for quiet as the lobby hushed. She fixed David with a steady gaze and declared, David Thompson, you made the grave mistake of believing that power could shield you from truth and justice. Today, these people have shown that true power lies in unity and in standing for what's right. She paused, eyes sweeping over the guests, still protecting her. Her tone softened, but her resolve remained ironclad from now on. I promise you this place will always stand for fairness, equality, and respect. This is not just my pledge, but the commitment of all of Horizon Hospitality. Thunderous applause and cheers answered her words. In that moment, everyone felt they'd become part of something bigger, not just defending Sophia, but standing up for themselves and all who'd suffered injustice. And in Sophia's eyes, they shone nothing but profound gratitude and an unshakable determination to ensure nothing like this ever happens again. As the thunderous applause and cheers from the guests began to subside, Sophia Carter drew in a deep breath, her eyes burning with steely resolve. She understood that although this battle had been won spectacularly, the journey to overhaul the entire system lay ahead, and it would be long and arduous. Turning to Chloe Bennett, still standing beside her, face alight with pride and emotion, Sophia placed a gentle hand on her shoulder and announced, for all the guests and the thousands watching the live stream to hear effective immediately, I am appointing Chloe Bennett as the new Director of Guest Services at the Lux Horizon Hotel. Chloe has demonstrated undeniable courage, integrity, and dedication to our guests, and she absolutely deserves this position. Chloe's face broke into a beaming smile of joy and surprise, her eyes sparkling like never before. Warm applause rippled through the lobby. Isabella trained her camera on Chloe and called out proudly into the live stream, You are witnessing a wonderful transformation, proof that bravery and honesty truly are rewarded. Amid the continuing excitement, Sophia spoke into her phone to her assistant, Rachel, who remained on the line. Rachel, notify the entire Horizon Hospitality Network that we will begin comprehensive reforms today. I want a thorough audit of every hotel in our chain nationwide. Any instance of discrimination or cover-ups must be dealt with swiftly, transparently, and severely understood. Miss Carter, Rachel's voice rang out with equal determination. I'll enact it right away at that moment. David Thompson spoke up weakly from behind Sophia, his voice trembling with desperation as he made one last plea. You can't do this, Sophia. I was just following orders from above. I'm not the only one to blame. Sophia spun on him, her gaze ice cold. What did you say, David? Who gave you these orders? David, now stripped of arrogance, blurted out everything he knew, hoping to lessen his own culpability. It was Michael Donovan, our former regional director. He kept insisting that we uphold the hotel's luxury image at all costs and quietly deal with any guests who didn't meet those standards. The lobby erupted in shocked murmurs. Sophia's brow darkened as she realized the gravity of this information. The problem extended far beyond one hotel. It had infected Horizon Hospitality's senior leadership. Chloe leaned close, voice tinged with worry. Miss Carter, if David is telling the truth, this could affect many of our hotels. We have to act immediately. Sophia nodded firmly, her eyes blazing with resolve. You're right, Chloe. No one can hide behind their position or power. Anyone, no matter their rank, implicated in discrimination or ethical violations must be held accountable by law and by our guests. She turned back to her phone, voice harder than ever. She issued her next order to Rachel. Rachel, contact our legal department, at once launch a full investigation into Michael Donovan and any other senior executives involved. Bring everything into the open, and if there's clear evidence, I want legal action to follow. No exceptions. Absolutely. Miss Carter, I'll relay the message immediately. Rachel responded without hesitation. Isabella and Noah's live streams flooded with messages of support and admiration from viewers nationwide. This is incredible. Exactly the leadership we need. Sophia Carter proves she's not only strong, but relentless in pursuit of justice. The atmosphere in the lobby crackled with tension and exhilaration. Sophia surveyed the faces, around her fully aware of the immense responsibility now resting on her shoulders. But she knew she was not alone. The guests surrounding her, alongside Chloe, Isabella, Noah, and countless online supporters all stood with her in this challenging undertaking, stepping forward once more. Sophia's voice rang out strong and resolute. Today we witnessed painful truths, but also an opportunity for profound change. I promise every one of you that Horizon Hospitality will become a symbol of fairness, equality, and absolute respect for every guest. We will not only transform this hotel, but our entire chain. And if necessary, we will change this entire industry. A final triumphant wave of applause and cheers swept through the lobby. In that moment, everyone knew they had witnessed history in the making, where justice and truth overcame discrimination and prejudice. And Sophia Carter, standing at the center of it all, was now more than the CEO of a major hotel group. She was the leader of a comprehensive reform, guiding the way toward a fairer, brighter future. Immediately after Sophia's powerful declarations, the Lux Horizons lobby was plunged into solemn silence. Every guest staff member and the thousands watching the live stream felt they were witnessing a historic moment, a turning point not only for the Lux Horizon Hotel itself, but for the entire Horizon Hospitality Group, and more broadly for the hotel industry as a whole. Sophia Carter swept a determined gaze around the room, her heart pounding with each beat. Every face before her shone with belief and high expectations, reminding her of the immense responsibility she carried. Drawing in a deep breath, Sophia spoke in a clear, gentle voice that nevertheless brimmed with uncommon strength and resolve. Today, we have risen up to stand against injustice and prejudice, but this is only the first step on the path to the change we all yearn for from this moment forward. I hereby officially announce a comprehensive restructuring across the entire Horizon Hospitality Group. Every eye was fixed intently on Sophia, and each word she spoke carried absolute sincerity and determination. We will immediately implement rigorous policies on fairness, transparency, and ethical conduct throughout our entire system. Every employee, from the highest executive to the newest staff member, will undergo mandatory training on equality, diversity, and inclusion. All customer complaints will be handled transparently and swiftly. Never again will painful experiences like those of the past have the chance to recur. The guests erupted into enthusiastic applause, their eyes reflecting profound faith in every word she spoke. Isabella moved the live stream camera closer to Sophia, her voice trembling with emotion. Dear friends, we are witnessing a historic moment in which Sophia Carter and Horizon Hospitality are setting new standards for the entire hotel industry. Today is the day that respect and equality truly rise to the top. Sophia gently raised her hand to quiet the crowd, and in an even more resonant tone, she shared a message that deeply moved everyone. True hospitality does not begin with a phony smile. It begins with genuine respect for every individual. That is something I learned all too well in the days when I slept in a hot car after being refused service. And that is precisely why I built Horizon Hospitality, to ensure that no one ever has to endure that loneliness and abandonment again. As Sophia finished speaking, a thunderous round of applause erupted and continued unabated. More than a few guests were moved to tears by her heartfelt words. Chloe Bennett, standing beside Sophia, could not hold back her own tears. She understood that from this moment on, her duty was not only to serve customers, but to uphold the core values Sophia represented suddenly. From the back of the crowd, an elderly woman stepped forward toward Sophia, her eyes brimming with emotion, her voice trembling with sincerity. "Miss Carter, I just want to thank you. I have stayed in many hotels in my lifetime, but I have never felt as heard and respected as I do today. What you have done has given me hope that there is still so much good left in this world." Those words touched Sophia deeply. She took the woman's hand and replied, her voice filled with gratitude. "No, I am the one who must thank you. It is thanks to people like you, those who stand up and speak the truth, that we can together build a better future." At that moment on Isabella and Noah's live stream, thousands of comments poured in, expressing deep admiration and gratitude. Sophia Carter has inspired us all on how to stand up against injustice. I will always support Horizon Hospitality, the place where true fairness is valued amid the powerful wave of emotion. Sophia stepped into the center of the lobby, turned toward the cameras, and everyone watching, and announced once more in a resolute voice, "Remember, today is not the end. This is the beginning of a revolution for respect and equality in the hotel industry and beyond in our community. I promise you all that Horizon Hospitality will never back down from this journey." Guests and staff alike rose to their feet, clapping and cheering loudly, the sound echoing through every corner of the lobby. Even the newly arrived front desk attendants behind the counter were moved to stand and applaud enthusiastically, showing their deep solidarity with Sophia's message, surveying the crowd. Sophia felt an unprecedented sense of happiness and pride. The Lux Horizon was no longer just a place of luxury lodging. It had become the living embodiment of the highest values of fairness, transparency, and genuine respect among people. And Sophia Carter understood that the challenging journey ahead would hold many obstacles, but she was not alone. Thousands of people, guests, staff, and the wider community stood with her together. They were not just building a hotel brand, they were building a more compassionate and more hopeful world with that fierce faith and determination. Sophia cast her proud gaze towards the future, smiled, and affirmed once more to everyone, "We will succeed, and we will change this world together." Thank you for joining Sophia Carter on this emotional journey. Through her story, we have seen that no matter the circumstances, courage, unity, and determination to uphold justice always triumphs. Remember, every small act against injustice can spark significant change in all our lives. What would you do if you witnessed an act of injustice, like the one in this story? Today, share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to share this video widely, and subscribe to the channel to receive more meaningful and inspiring stories. See you in the next videos.